Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents The Corner Bookstore, hosted by Red O'Loughlin. Step into a world where every story inspires. These pages come to life through the voices of authors from around the globe. Written by our global community of TV show hosts and best-selling authors, these works span genres, generations, and geographies, united by the power of storytelling. Discover your next favorite book and meet the minds behind the work. Thursdays, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Howdy, y'all. Red O'Loughlin here. I want to wish everybody a happy new year. 2026 turned last night, and here we are early this morning getting ready for another wonderful year on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Today on the Corner Bookstore, I am super thrilled to have my boss, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, join me, which you will hear in just a moment. But a very brief introduction about me. I am an author, a writer, a publisher, a TV host, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, a lot of things, but I love chemistry. I fell in love with it many, many, many years ago in high school, and I use that nowadays to research the human body at the cellular level for many reasons, but I've kind of focused on root cause analysis. I want to take the cellular biology and translate it into decisions that people can act on. But I not only look at what helps, but I look at also what makes things worse. So I kind of consider myself to a degree writing decision support manuals for aging people. That's kind of where I put most of my passion. So later on today, if you happen to catch me on Talking Heads, my topic today is accidental aging, quiet decisions that shorten your life. And so we'll talk about those things we never think about, but we make every day, and they can easily be changed. So enough about me. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get started on our guest today, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I've been with her for a number of years. She's the founder of the USA Global TV and Radio Network. She hosts, I think, 60-some shows, or not hosts, but she's responsible on the network for over 60 shows a month that can be produced, award-winning, just lots and lots of things. We're going to get into that. So, Dr. Jacalyn, please join me up here on stage.
Listen, babe, now. 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 Listen, babe, now.
Hello, that was pretty cool to be able to do my theme song for my entrance.
I didn't realize that was your theme song. I know it's your latest, and and I'm looking at that. Okay, so Dr. Jacalyn is writing books on listening. She's talking on listening, and now she's singing on listening. So I guess there must be a theme in that somewhere.
Absolutely. I had the honor and the privilege of being in London last month, and I actually went into a recording studio and recorded my first single with Maddie Loveday, Dr. Madeline Chan, and it's called "Please Listen to What I Say." So that's my theme song anytime I come out somewhere.
I didn't know the backstory. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Um, we're here on the Corner Bookstore. We've been here before, and you've highlighted some of your books over the past, but you were in corporate for a while, I think in marketing or sales, but you were there forever. And then you decided, okay, on the first day of pandemic, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to give up my corporate world and become this new icon in the TV and radio business. Well, maybe not exactly that thought process, but most people, when they write a book, it's for credibility, in order to get them established in whatever they're doing. Is that part of the reason you wrote your first book?
I think part of the reason I wrote my first book was because I really wanted to share my story of how I left corporate and then started with a radio show and then a TV show to let people know that there is life after corporate. I'm very grateful for the corporate career I had. I had a lot of terrific experience and wonderful clients and traveled the world. But I wrote the book so that people could understand you too can share your voice. And this is how I did it.
Okay, so you wrote the book, and that was your first, and you've had chance to write several since then. Um, if you are writing a book tomorrow, which you probably will be, um, what are some of the lessons that you've learned on writing the book? I'm not talking about the children's books right now. We'll get into those down the road. But let's say you're writing a how-to business book of something dealing with listening or some aspect of entrepreneurism or whatever. What are some of the things that you've learned that would make the job of being a writer and becoming an author easier?
I think the first is to just get started. I know I've interviewed people and I've asked them, have you written a book? And they'll say, no, I have one somewhere, or I started years ago. It's under my bed. You just have to get started and make a commitment to do it, just like anything else. It is January 1st here where we are. And if you're making a decision to write a book, actually get started on it. Start doing something, start writing something down. And Red, you just shared with me when I did my first book, Behind the Green Screen, you don't actually have to type it. You can actually speak it and then have it translated into text. So that would be my first step, is that I think every one of us has a book inside of us. So come up with a game plan and just start writing. Have a commitment that you want to be finished by a certain amount of time, and keeping in mind that the editing is the thing that's going to be really challenging. It's something that we all love as writers and as authors. So just get started and have a plan.
Well, nowadays, not only can you have it, you read it, say, tell me about this, and Dr. Jacalyn, tells us, and that all gets captured in text, so she doesn't have to write it. But the AI is coming out now where it actually can form a movie video of your words. So imagine what things are going to be like in a couple of years when we start deluging the world with all these videos that used to be books.
Yes, it's going to be interesting. And I want to thank you because you also told me about AI way back. And so I use AI quite a bit. But what I found is that it makes a lot of mistakes. And it's pretty easy when you're using AI to see when other people are using AI. So I always change it into my own style and make sure that it really is my voice that's resonating with me. So I don't feel like I'm just taking something that somebody else did. But it makes a lot of mistakes. And I've tested it a number of times and just given it information from one perspective and then another perspective, and I feel like it's always cheering me on. So I've said to it, I don't think you're really being very impartial. I know you want me to win, you want me to do well, but sometimes we really need to have that third party to evaluate. And I know that some people are putting out videos that don't even look like themselves. And I think to myself, are you looking at what this has created? It doesn't even look like you. It's not even your branding. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but I do think that we as humans have to really look at what are we attaching our name and our brand to.
And it's just a tool. That's all it is. And some tools are made for unique things. Maybe designing a banner, maybe designing a book cover, maybe going in and doing. When I use AI, I have about a 2-page prompt that tells it exactly who it is, where I want it to go, why I want it to go there. And so I know that most of the information I'm getting comes from fairly reputable sources. But as you said, I still double check because you just never know. But the more you talk to your AI and the more you're very specific about what you want, it's like beginning of, I guess probably after Thanksgiving. One of the concerns I have is about my tropical plants that I have in the yard. I have to bare root them, put them in the garage so they don't, end up dying because of a freeze. That happens occasionally here in Houston. And so I started asking my AI about weather. Well, all of a sudden I get something back, but it's not what I want. I said, no, I want the Madden-Julian oscillation. I want the North Atlantic oscillation. I want these things factored in. Oh, okay, fine. And then he starts talking. And so when you tell them who they are, and I'm using it as a human being, it becomes a little bit more part of understanding, this is really and truly what I'm looking for. And I think the error rate goes significantly down when you start saying, I only want you to look in the National Institute of Health. I don't want you to go anywhere else. And I have another platform that I'm getting ready to use here very, very shortly. Can't even think of the name of it right now. I saw it on a training the other night in one of the groups I'm in. And you tell it where its sources are, and it goes there and develops a video based on that, or an audio based on that, or a text based on the information there. So if I said, here are 8 segments of USA Global TV and Radio Network I want to use as reference, develop a 500 word, blog, boom, it'll go out there. Now I have something that's an outline and I can use it to tweak and do something. So the tool is there, but again, we have to know that it's just not something you say, hi, how are you? Tell me this, because you're not giving it any reference. It's going to go anywhere it sees. And so that's part of the problem I think most people have with the AI. They want to keep their intellectual property, but they don't want to say, hey, there's a lot better way of doing this.
Yes, I would agree. And the other thing that I found is I manage all of my websites myself because I've outsourced and people have hijacked them, et cetera. And so I've learned a lot about doing websites. And so I just redid USA Global TV and Radio. And I wanted a certain process for the book your session page so that it was more streamlined. And so I created the whole thing. And then I went and I told the AI exactly what I did. And it said, oh, it would make more sense if you tweak this one thing. So then I did, and I recapped exactly what I did. And it came back and said, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You should do this. And I wrote back, you just told me to do this. This is read your own, like you just told me to do this. So it doesn't even remember sometimes what it tells you to do. So it just, I think it's almost like having a team of people, but they have to be managed. You can't just let them run and do whatever it is they want and have no supervision. So that's what I find. It definitely is a cost savings in a lot of ways, because unfortunately it does eliminate a number of jobs that we'd have to hire people for. And it does provide a foundation, but we're the ones who have to build the property on the foundation, build the home or whatever it is, so to speak.
When did you become the listening mentor and why?
I think I became the listening mentor in 2021 because I was partnering with a person who was asking me for coaching and to listen. And the person said, you're a really good listener. And I said, thank you. I've actually been told that a number of times in my life. People would share information with me. They would know people in my circle and they'd know them really well. And then I get introduced to them. And all of a sudden they're telling me their deep, dark secrets. And people in the circle are like, wait a minute, we've known this person for so long and they've never told us. It actually just happened last night at a party. So it was probably 2021 or 2022 that somebody I was working with said, you're really the listening mentor. And so that's where it came from.
Okay, so you got the moniker, you accepted the role. In order to have credibility, you wrote a book. Then you wrote another book. And then you decided, and I remember us talking about this. What are some of the things that we really are never told as kids? Relationships, finances, this, that. I mean, lots of things. But we learn by the people around us, and they say, the five closest people kind of give you some indication of this, that, and whatever. But you chose to take that listening segment with so much tenacity and say, we really need to get this into the schools. We need to get this into the families, that if they start as 3, 4, 5 year olds and they know how to listen, I'll let you take it from there because it's really your story.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I was just with my great niece and my great nephew just a couple of days ago, and just being around them and just watching that innocence and the ability to, my sister and brother-in-law gave them this doctor's cart with all the things that you would have maybe in a hospital. And so, take out the stethoscope and taking your temperature. And from there, my great niece decided she wanted to cut my hair. So now she's a salon owner. So it's just really amazing to have that curiosity and that wonder. And I think as we get jaded in life, something happens or someone tells us something, you're no good at this, or you'll never be anything. All of a sudden, we're no longer listening to our intuition. We're listening to that judgment that someone put on us. And so just watching the kids and thinking, as adults, we lose so much because we don't have that curiosity. And that, to me, ties into listening, because I really am curious about what people think and how they make decisions. Whereas other people, and I'm not saying I was never like this, because I was, but many times it's like a competition. It's who can one up the other and who has more power and who has more say. Whereas I'm just really curious. I'm curious as to how you made that decision. And for example, like, your plants mean a lot to you. What do they mean? And it's just, for me, finding out more information because I'm very curious and I'm interested in other people. And that, to me, is the whole crux of listening. And where we as adults fall off the wagon, so to speak, is that we decide to go into these other modes when we're engaging with someone. And one of them is problem solving. But no one asked you to solve a problem. No one said, I have a problem that I need you to solve. But yet we decide, oh, we know what the answer is. And I've said this so many times. If we don't know what we're doing in our own lives, because none of us are perfect, how can we possibly know what someone else needs? And why are we presenting information that no one asked for?
So true. That's a major problem, I think, with most of us. Somebody says something, I have a solution. And you weren't asked for a solution, you were just asked to listen. But the ask to listen is implicit. And when we give a solution, it's explicit, but wasn't intended to be. So it's a world we don't think about because we don't see it being portrayed in movies and TV, in family situations, and businesses. It's just one of those lost arts, so to speak.
Very true. Very true. And I think as today is the first day of 2026, at least again for us here where we are, it's making a conscious decision to evaluate our own behavior. So I have 3 questions that I ask myself before I say anything. And part of this is included in the book. You can see they're holy but harmful. The questions are, and the same thing pertains to social media before we post something. Is it kind? Is it necessary? And is it true? And I think for the third one, is it true? That's where people start manipulating information to the way that they want to interpret it and then share it. So they'll take an entire story and they'll segment it and just use the part of the story that proves that they're right. And so I think if we were able to stop competing with one another and look for more ways to bring inner peace and world peace, that this would be a completely different world that we live in today. Instead of the hatred, there's so much hatred on social media that I personally, and I sent this out to our team, it's we stand for elevated listening. So if there are people who are posting posts that are filled with hatred and anger, they're not going to be here that long because that's not what we're about. And so you have to be transparent in how are you showing up on the screen and in social media and in your real life.
or rapidly approaching commercial time. So why don't we get ready for that? And when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about these perspectives, because I have one that I like to use as an example that sometimes your perspective is diametrically opposed to mine, and you truly believe it's true, and I truly believe mine's true. But I think it's something that we need to at least broach. So after the commercial break, let's talk about perspectives.
Fantastic. We're going to hear from Tracy Cram-Perkins, Dementia Home Care, before, during, and after. Let's take a look. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Brett O'Loughlin here. We're on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and we're here on New Year's Day 2026. My guest is Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the founder of the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And as an author of 20 or more books, we're getting involved in her main theme, which is she's a listening mentor. Let's get back to Dr. Jacalyn, and let's continue down that road just a little bit, because you've written several books on listening, and then you translated that knowledge into the basics for children. We're going to get into children's books here very quickly. But perspectives. If I'm sitting at a table across from you right now, and between us, there's a piece of paper, and on the paper, I'm looking at it, and it has the number 6. I know what a 6 looks like. I've seen it all my life. But you're looking at it, and it's a 9. And you know what a 9 is. You know, we're looking at the same thing, but we have 2 different perspectives of the same thing. And so I can easily see where people have absolute emotional belief in certain things. So you say, is it kind? Is it true? In some cases, the kindness and the trueness don't necessarily get translated with the same level of professionalism. You can present something that's, okay, this is what I believe. And if you preface it that way, that's fine. But when you throw it out there that everybody should believe this no matter what, that's a different perspective. And I think that's a problem.
Well, I think, in my opinion, if you go back to the example I gave with my great niece and great nephew, it's just about being curious. It's just like watching them open the gifts, and then, oh, 1 minute you're owning a hair salon, the next minute you're a doctor, the next minute you're a nurse. And it's just being curious, as opposed to what happens as adults. It's about being right. It's about, this is the only way to do it. I think that you're wrong because you think this. And I don't think that. The way I feel is I'm interested to know how you came to this determination and why it's important to you. Not that I want to change your mind. I just want to know you better. And to know you better, that means I have to put down my preconceived ideas. And especially in my role as a peace ambassador, you know, we're working with people all over the world who are living, some people are living every single day in fear of dying, of being killed. And imagine what that's like, as opposed to living in this country where we have so much. And I know there's a lot of strife in this country. We're not on a political show, and I don't like to talk politics anyway. But at the core of the whole thing is that we stop listening to each other, whether it's in government or even educators. You can see there's a lot going on in various universities. And people, instead of saying, okay, let's sit down and talk about what your perspective is, instead of taking action and saying, well, you're all wrong, I'm the one who's right, and the people I represent, we're the ones who know.
Yeah, it's a very broad topic. It's very complex. And I don't know that there's any real solutions that come out quickly. I think over time we can agree. Okay, fine. I agree with what I hear what you're saying. I disagree with you. And if we can disagree, we're still friends. Boom, and that's it. And that's part of the world we're in. It's so interesting.
Well, I think also, Red, we can either come from a place of fear or we can come from a place of love. And the love is the curiosity. The fear is where people are angry and they're turning to violence or they're turning to other things because they're not able to express themselves. And many times they don't feel heard. They don't feel validated. So what I really teach and what I believe is when someone speaks, acknowledge that you heard them. Don't just gloss over it and go on to the next subject, because then the person is still sitting there going, oh, this person isn't even listening to me. So we have to acknowledge one another and then thank you. Thank you for sharing. Even if it's not something you believe in, you don't have to say, well, I don't believe in that. You can just say, I appreciate the fact that you shared your opinion with me. And you can say nothing, because if you're truly coming from a place of love, it's not about a dog marking its territory, so to speak. That's a pretty easy thing for people to think about. But so many times we go down this rabbit hole of it's about ego. And that part of the ego also comes from fear.
We need to get back more into our books because you're going to be on my show, The Wise Ones, here in about 30 minutes or so. But anyway, getting back into the listening aspect in children's books, writing a children's book, at least the first 1, 2, 3, 4 that we worked on together, where it was a totally different world. It's like, okay, I want to write a cooking book. Here's my recipes. There's limitations on the page, number of pages. It includes images. It includes, I got to be very concise, 4 or 5 lines. What was really and truly the hardest part of that first couple children's books that you did for kids to learn how to listen better?
I'm just bringing up the children's books now so that people can take a look at them. Well, you're writing for a different audience, but you also have to acknowledge that there's an adult who's going to be making the purchase typically of the book. So you need to appeal to the adults, and also you have to have content that's relevant and that's interesting. So this was the first book, The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. And so each of the books actually has a theme and a story that I want people to take away from it. But because you are writing to children, I don't have any children. And so for me, it's kind of like going into an area that I've never been versed in before. So what I started doing was using my own family members as listeners to see, does this resonate? Would this make sense? Is this compelling for an adult to buy it? And by the way, I've learned a lot during the journey, because I've even looked at the books that my family members, the children, are reading to see, are they interested in a paperback, in a hardback? What size book are they normally drawn to? And so it's been an interesting experience that I'm still learning from. So I would say that, as I mentioned in the beginning, go down the path of a children's book if you have something that you truly want to share and you want children to be able to incorporate. And then also, if you're interested in getting into an educational system, into the school system, children's books are a great way, I think, to start. So I've learned a lot along the journey, but I'm still learning.
The children's books, now you're forced to have a lot of images that correspond to the text with them. What difficulties have you had in order to say, I love the image, but the text doesn't work, or the text is what I want, but the image doesn't work?
Well, for me, it starts with the text, because the text is really what is going to leave I think, the most of an impression on the adult or the person who's the reader per se. But the children, I think, are more interested in the images. So there is a challenge in making sure that they line up, because I'm not doing the illustrations. I'm not an illustrator. Believe me, I looked into it and I thought, you know what, I'll just do the illustrations too. But no, I can't do the illustrations. So you're basically depending on someone else to be able to convey your message, which is through the text. And sometimes they don't line up. And then you have to go back and ask the illustrator to redo the image based on what the text is. And they may not be happy about that, because that's their baby, right? That illustration is something they put their heart and soul into, but they have to match.
And sometimes we created a new text to go with whatever was there, because it wasn't taking away from the message. It was just clarifying what we were seeing was in fact what was being read to a child, so that you had that emphasis on, this is really what I want to get into that child's brain. This is what's important. And I thought that you did a masterful job on that on several occasions, because the theme is this, whatever that aspect of listening was, and each book has a different aspect that they're focused on. And so it's kind of hard sometimes to keep that focus there, because we as adults, as you say, we solve problems that don't need to be solved, but we're in that book and we're trying to create a combination image, text, and education, awareness more so than anything else.
Yes, I agree with that.
You've had a couple, three things out there. Your almost every book you've had has been a best-selling book. Every book has been a new. Tell the world what's happened, because you solved the equation for a lot of authors. How do I get my book to be number one? How do I get my book to be the best new book out there today? So you've had a lot of experience in that. What's your secret?
Well, thank you for asking. I've learned a lot from you actually along the way. And you and we worked together on all my books, except I would say the last one I pretty much did by myself. And so what I've been able to do is I have released any emotional attachment I have to any of my books. And I've shared this before, but if I see you in person and if I have a book with me, I will gladly sign my book and give it to the person. So I am not looking to get rich on book sales. And I know a lot of people, you and I have a very different perspective when it comes to book sales. And I think that's great. But for me, it's, can I get this book into someone's hands and they're actually going to read it and they're going to take something away from it that maybe they'll find inner peace. So to me, what's most important is having my books be number one new releases on Amazon or number one bestsellers. And I've been able to accomplish that on all of my books except for one. And the one where it didn't happen, I think it was the Lady Ellen, Lord Jack's Kindness Adventures. I didn't put that much time into the marketing of it. So because this platform is out on social media, I think I have an advantage that some people don't necessarily have. And also because I've learned how to do social media marketing. I used to pay people, now people pay me to do their marketing. But I spend hours, I might spend 15, 17, 19 hours marketing the book before it actually comes out. And so the day that it's released by Amazon, I think it's at 12:01 Pacific time. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. But every hour, Amazon is updating all of their book categories to let you know what book stands where in the rankings. And so I'm checking literally every hour to see what updates there are. And then once you see there's a little banner that goes across your book page that it's the number one new release, it might be a top new release, and then you go to the top new releases and you see where it is. So I'm taking pictures, screenshots of it, because once it's gone, that's it. So I think the answer would be that I put a lot of time and energy into that, because that's what's really important to me, as opposed to the book sales. I want to get it, I want it to be recognized as a top new release or a number one bestseller, and then people can make the decision to go and buy it. But I'm going to be reaching out to people individually through my travels and signing them.
Okay, so let's talk about marketing for a few minutes. What are some of the things you do to market your books?
Well, one of the things I do, and I don't, this is available for anyone. I make movie trailers for my books. I mean, right now we have a number of movie trailers I could play. So each book gets its own dedicated movie trailer that I then run on social media. I put them all on YouTube so that they can be seen at any point in time. And then I also will run them on a number of our shows. So movie trailers. And then also when I travel, I take my books with me, and I typically we'll have pictures taken with people with me with the books, or me signing the books. And then I'll do social media marketing as well as put the books and some of the reviews on my websites.
Do you have any plans for audiobooks?
Well, actually, the interesting thing is, Red, that Amazon now makes it very easy to have audiobooks. So all of my books, I think, except for the last one possibly, have an option for people to purchase them as audiobooks only, because Amazon through AI now offers that as long as your books meet certain requirements. I don't know what the requirements are, but I just know if you're an author and you go to Amazon KDP, and when you look at each of your books, you'll see there that there's an option for it to be turned into an audiobook. And then you pick the voice, you pick the age, the accent of the speaker, and then it's all done within minutes.
It's interesting because the older way of doing it, you had options of actually listening and talking to the person who was going to read the book. And then you had every single literally section of the book had to be copied as a different audio file. There was a lot of things there. And literally in the last month or so, in the process of doing some updates to my book descriptions and other things on Amazon and on KDP and on my website and stuff, I've noticed, oh, what is that all about? And you mentioned it here today. The hardcover snuck in, and boom, you can get a hardcover literally if it's more than 70 pages or something. And so now that audiobook option is there. So that being the audio question, is there going to be a book in a foreign language?
Yes, I'm not going to translate all of my books, but the two that you see here, Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening and Holy But Harmful, The Silent Sin of Judgment, these books will be translated into other languages. And you and I were just talking before the show started about how there are different platforms with AI where you can have your voice translated, you can have your books translated. So that is on the to-do list for 2026.
Yeah, I looked at fiverr.com. I use them a lot for many, many things. And I'm like, oh, translation, guy's done, 300 books or whatever in Italian to English, and so I look and I ask a couple of questions, and it's basically just number of words, so if it's 30,000 words, that's the price. Boom. Thank you very much. And that's it. And that's so much more competitive than what it was 5 years ago when I'm looking for something, $3,000, and I'll be more than happy to do it for you. And so it's that AI and everything is really coming around, because I guess if AI translates it into Italian, and then you have an Italian person who's actually sitting there listening to it as it being, and they make the tweaks to make the thing proper, because there's some things that just don't get translated right.
That's correct. And for our audience members who don't know this, we now have shows here in USA Global TV and Radio that are in German and also in French. And so sometimes if I try to translate something, I'll find out from our team members who speak fluent German and French that that's actually not the right translation. So AI does not automatically translate things as they would be in the spoken language.
Yeah. A lot of limitations, but if you know what the limitations are, that's where you can go back and concentrate on making sure it's right. We're getting ready to the last minute here of the show. How do people get in touch with you, Dr. Jacalyn, and what can you do for them?
Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate it. Well, people can reach out to me through my LinkedIn, which is here. And so we're always looking for people who are interested in being guests on our show. You can actually go over to our website, which is here, usaglobaltv.com. And you can go to book your session. We've got a really cool, I think, streamlined process now where we offer 3 complimentary interviews in a calendar year, which is 2026. And then if you want to come back after 3 interviews, there's a fee, $154. And people will say to me, why is there a fee? Well, because you're taking a time slot of somebody who maybe has never been here before. So we want everyone to have an opportunity. Then you can join our team and get up to 10 interviews in a year. And then if you're interested in additional visibility like search engine optimization, editing, promoting you, et cetera, et cetera. So that's usaglobaltv.com. And then if you're interested in purchasing any of my books, you can go to Amazon and you can find the books here under my name. Just put in Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck.
And Kerbeck is Kerbeck.
Absolutely. Thank you, Red. Thanks for the opportunity.
And also on YouTube, you have a couple of channels.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. We have our YouTube Silver Creator channel, which is we won the award from YouTube for over 100,000 subscribers. And I'm pulling that up now if my fingers can move fast enough to do so. I'm also producing the show for those of you who don't know that. So here is one of our YouTube channels. It's USA Global TV and Radio. And we currently have almost 108,000 subscribers. We earned the award. You can see the award in the corner. We earned that YouTube Silver Creator Award in April of last year. And then I also have my own YouTube channel, which is Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. And I'm trying to pull that up quickly. Here it is. So let me share this tab instead. So this is Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we have 37,000 plus subscribers on this channel. So please do subscribe to both of our channels. Thank you so much, Red.
Okay, so let's go ahead and say goodbye to Dr. Jacalyn. We're going to catch her again in about 20 minutes on the Wise Ones here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I'm Red O'Loughlin. I enjoyed this broadcast so much because it's about writing, it's about authoring, it's about any part of being able to provide information, awareness, education, and that's one of the things that's truly near and dear to my heart. I research literally almost every single day on things. I found something literally a couple days ago. Never knew this existed, and started doing some research. Whoa. So anyway, lots of things out there, and one of the best ways to share your knowledge is through writing a book, recording a book, lots and lots of ways of doing it. So until this time next week, every Thursday, 11 o'clock Central Time, noon on the East Coast, please join me on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and I'll see you shortly on the Wise Ones. Take care, y'all. Bye now.
In a noisy world, true connection begins with listening. Elevated listening transforms every conversation in just 5 simple steps. Pause and breathe. Set your intention. Listen with curiosity. Reflect back. Agree on one next step. Join the Listening Mentor on Let's Finally Talk with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, where we help you find inner peace, one conversation at a time. Streaming every day, Let's Finally Talk TV show with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, only here on USA Global TV and Radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channels to watch and engage with all our content.
Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? In a world quick to judge, one book dares to reveal the hidden cost of silence. Discover Holy but Harmful, The Silent Sin of Judgment, How Hidden Judgments Destroy Relationships and Damage Lives by Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. The Amazon #1 bestseller that's transforming the way we understand ourselves and the way we see others. Pick up the companion workbook to uncover your own hidden judgments and learn how to break free from them. Available now on Amazon and at fine bookstores worldwide.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, We're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.